Orengo needs to realize that ODM will be wrecked from inside. It will be wrecked by its own people. Some of those people I don't want to mention here are just there for their stomachs. Wataitwa na William Ruto wapatiwe pesa kidogo. They are going to wreck ODM from inside.
So the fight is going to
The fight is, the ODM does not need enemies.
But
it has got very greedy people who sit inside ODM who only see their stomach, and after they're done seeing their stomach, they see their own stomach.
Hey there, and welcome to Fanya Mambo, Africa. This is a few days, actually just 2 days after we buried Raila Odinga. And the mood in the country is still quite somber. People are celebrating their life. People are still trying to get into terms of the reality because it was almost 72-hour-ish. And that is not what people expected. Fanya Mambo, karibu sana.
Asante sana, how are you?
I am well,
Yeah.
managing too, and just trying to understand how we will handle conversations without the presence of Raila Odinga. How is it for you?
I think every politician comes and leaves their mark. And the problem we have is that many of us sometimes are not prepared for transitions, even at family level. Because we are thinking that we are prepared, we are not prepared for the demise of Baba. But Ida Odinga was also not prepared for the demise of her husband. His children were not prepared to lose their father. Some of those who were close in the family were not prepared to lose their uncle, their father or something of that kind. So nobody is prepared really for death. You can never be too old to die, that people are saying, now we are ready for you to die. I think that now being the case, then death becomes a constant. And everybody has to say, look here, when death happens, then what happens next? And one of the first steps towards it is support for the family and people who are very close to him, so that they can be able to start feeling a need to fill the void. And then secondly, obviously, is now acceptance, saying it is true he's gone. Because there are people who stay in denial. It is true he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. And letting go. Because if you don't let go, if you continue holding on to Baba, and then that's what the people you see who were so close, like especially husband and wife, and then one person doesn't let go. Unasikia huyu alikufa, then after a month the other one followed them. So no matter how close someone is, you have to pray for closure and to be able to let go. Otherwise, if you do not let go, then you just might follow them. Yeah.
This, I think for Raila, it's very different. And I'm looking at this even at the speeches that were given in Kisumu, Bondo, where he was being buried. And there was a lot of drama, number one, from politicians, because everyone wants to be seen as though they were the, right-hand man of Raila Odinga. But I picked something from what Ida said, that do not inherit the political enemies of Raila.
Just inherit his friends.
Yes. Yeah. What did you make up of that statement, and why do you think she found it wise to pass that message?
I think Raila Odinga's wife, Ida, has been in the political corridors for a long time. And she has seen her husband, fight with Moi, then shake hands with Moi and become cooperation merger. And then she has seen him fight with Kibaki and work with Kibaki. She has seen him fight with Uhuru and work with Uhuru. I think that was the warmest relationship they ever had. And then she has seen him fight with Ruto and then work with Ruto. So you can imagine if she had hated Moi, and then one day she sees in the news her husband with Moi. You can imagine if she had hated all those other people who followed, Kibaki, Uhuru, and Ruto. So she says, look here, inherit the friends. If Raila has got friends, inherit those friends. If Raila has got enemies, do not inherit those friends. Because then when they start working with the enemies, there's nothing you can do. But something more profound for me, which I felt I needed to mention, is what happened at the airport upon the arrival of his remains.
Yeah.
And we need to address this. Yes, we are different culturally. The Kikuyu, the Kalenjin, the Luo, the Luya, the Maasai, the Kamba, we don't mourn the same way. But you know what? There is a common denominator. There is a very fine line between mourning and mannerlessness. And you cannot come and say that mannerlessness is mourning. The state had arranged to receive his body in a very dignified and colorful way. to the point that they had arranged army men with their guns and, they were in parade uniform, and they wanted to give him a salutation that was deserving of what he had done for the country. But imagine the mourners denied him that. Wakakuja, wakafurusha, wakaharibu kila kitu, wakapanda kwa ndege huko juu. I don't know whether they wanted to become pilots instantly, and so on and so forth. That was terrible. That needs to be condemned. We have to say there is mourning, and then we have to say there is bad manners. What happened at JKIA was not mourning. That was bad manners, because they denied the same person they were saying they were mourning, or they respect and honor and love, an opportunity to be honored by our army. That never happened to him at the airport. Number two, you saw some of them got in as far as to the cockpit. I am not a pilot, but I can imagine the aeroplane has got something similar to a handbrake, something that keeps it stopped and not moving. And it has got things that keep it moving and not stopped. What if they touch the wrong things? Would have been speaking of deaths right there at the runway. And that would probably have degraded our airport, because IATA would have looked at us and said, look here, you guys are not serious. You cannot manage your airways this way. You cannot manage your landing path and your flight path like this. So we would have been degraded probably to the level of Entebbe International Airport. So I think that as a nation, we need to call out bad manners when we see bad manners, and to accept grief, and to accept mourning, and to respect that we mourn differently. But I can tell you, there is no culture in the whole world that calls mannerlessness mourning. After his body was laid to rest and flowers were put, I remember them changing the timetable very quickly and saying that they would want to say a final prayer so that the head of state leaves. I am sure that was intelligence telling him, wale watu muliacha huko wamefika. And there was no other way. A very short prayer was said, indeed very short, and immediately the president left in a hush. Those people broke into the compound, and you saw the things they did. They desecrated the grave. They tore the flowers. Because there was a beautiful flower written Baba. It ended up in people's houses. I was seeing them putting on their TikTok pages today. They stepped on his grave. They did terrible things. That to me is not Luo culture. That to me is not Luo way of mourning. We know they are close to the body. We know there's a way Luos mourn, but we also know bad manners when we see bad manners. And for anybody saying that is bad manner, that is good manners, it's not. I saw something called teloburu, which we understand is chasing away the spirits. And that was okay. They came with spears, they did a dance, they had their cows. We understood teloburu is Luo culture. But let nobody come and tell the country that misbehaving, spoiling flowers, trampling on a grave is Luo culture. Because what they are doing is they are insulting the Luo culture. And for us who respect the Luo, for us who respect their culture, for us who see them, many people would have wanted to paint the Luo as useless, bad, ill-mannered people. I don't look at them that way. I look at them as people who have a very rich culture, only that they have allowed a few elements within themselves to make a mock of their culture and to make their culture look like it's a terrible one. It's not a terrible one from where I sit. I think it's a rich culture. I think it's a beautiful culture. I think the Luo people are wonderful people, but they have allowed within themselves some terrible... By the way, did you see them on Jaramogi's, the rich Jaramogi's mausoleum at the top?
Yeah.
How is that mourning? That is not equal to mourning. That is the SI unit for mannerlessness.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully we can do better as a country, because I also understand there was excitement, and excitement comes with some public death. Euphoria. Not the death really, it's just wanting to see everything. I think human nature has a way of wanting, especially for the person that was Raila Odinga. I think the people being told they would not go, I understand there's the mannerless space, but there's also the euphoria of he's ours.
I have never
was a
said
very thin line.
Very beautiful things about the Kenya Kwanza administration, but for once they tried. They had set up screens in strategic places where these people could have a bird's eye view. In fact, you have a better view when you're watching it from the screen. I mean, I watched it from home. I would have loved to go to Bonda, but logistically, there was no planes. They were all full. The roads were crazy. Of course, I can't afford a helicopter. Very many of the people who went there went in helicopters. I need to look for the right friends.
Yes.
So I didn't manage. I would have wanted to go there. So the way it happened is, to me, the state had tried to even put up screens for them in strategic places. Anybody who allowed themselves to have common sense and to behave was able to watch it.
Yeah, and it was beautiful actually, and we commend the government for giving a hero such a beautiful send off that the person that is Raila deserved, in fact. So, something else that has happened just the following day after Raila is buried, we see Uhuru Kenyatta back. So, he didn't even leave Kisumu, so to say. Why do you think it was important for him? And also, being politics, what's the message? Because there's nothing in politics that happens by accident. We can't just claim they're friends and that's it.
You see, let us talk about Uhuru Kenyatta in entirety. He comes to Nyayo National Stadium. And before the function begins, he sees Kalonzo Musyoka walking in. What does he do? He's the head of state. It's Kalonzo who should be coming to Uhuru. Na kuna jile salam tunasalimia na anga ya kuji, but it's Uhuru who walks to Kalonzo Musyoka all the way. And he made a few steps, not less than 20 steps, to where Kalonzo Musyoka was and greeted him very heartily. He's telling you, this is my presidential candidate 2027. I can tell you, take that to the bank.
Really?
Yes, that's Uhuru's presidential candidate. He may not tell you now, but his language has told you. Wewe kama you're a clever person, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is telling you, this is my presidential candidate come 2027. Number two, when Uhuru was called upon to speak, he spent the first 2 minutes just trying to tell the crowd, thank you. Enough with, because the crowd was wild. They were excited. They are happy. Why? They know that Uhuru is the last genuine friend that Raila Amolo Odinga had. He's the last genuine one. The other one was a friendship of convenience. William Ruto and and Raila Odinga were there conveniently because the demos had happened, and Ruto needed someone to help him run government, as it were, and to donate what they call experts. So Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta then goes to Kisumu, and then he goes to Bondo for the burial. And every time his name was mentioned, even just by Mama Ida just mentioning Uhuru Kenyatta, the crowd went wild. Why? Because they knew that between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga existed a genuine friendship. He meant well, they meant well. So unasikia walikuwa nakunywa uji na chai pamoja. That and Uhuru is one person who, if he invites you for a cup of tea, it's a cup of tea and it's genuine. And you won't go home thinking, have I been poisoned? Because every person knows Uhuru to have a good heart. Every person knows Uhuru has a big heart and a wonderful heart. And Uhuru wouldn't harm you in such a way. That cannot be said about some politicians I don't want to mention. There are certain politicians in this country, if they invite you to where they are and they offer you tea, you don't want to have tea because you don't know whether you're going to be alive 3 months after that. So Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Raila enjoyed a very nice camaraderie. They became friends. Now, then he goes to Bondo. After everything is done, certain things were said by the president that made Uhuru Kenyatta very uncomfortable. When he started saying that he booked an appointment for Ishaweri, when he started saying that he went there and they discussed broad-based, when he started saying that he went there and Uhuru actually appointed those people that were to be given to William Ruto, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta knew that to be untrue. He knew there was nothing like an appointment. He knew that
But we can't deny his people are in government. 3 of them, for that matter.
It is
it
not
4?
true. It is not
So
true.
how did Mutahi Kagwe end up in government?
Because he was appointed by William Ruto.
This was just after their meeting in Ishaweri.
No. You people don't understand William Ruto. William Ruto is a good politician. He asks, munaona simu ya Uhuru wapi Ishaweri? He goes there. In fact, he just wanted a photo opportunity. They take a photo. And if you want to know, look at the press releases. What William Ruto released and what Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta released after Ishaweri tells you they were having 2 separate meetings in the same house. So they took photos. And that's what William Ruto needed. Immediately the photos were taken, he appointed the people he wanted to appoint to cabinet to make it look as though Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is in government, because he had impeached Rigiji and it appeared the mountain was slipping away from him. That was the reason why. So Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta remains in Bondo, And what do you think are the conversations he had with Oburu Odinga?
Something I would want to
He
understand.
tells Oburu Odinga, you people follow broad-based government at your own peril. Raila Amolo Odinga unfortunately died having not made up with Gen Zs. Gen Zs had not forgiven him.
Yeah.
They had not understood him, and he had not understood them. They were reading from two different scripts. And I was wishing and hoping for the day when those two people would reach out and forgive one another, when the Gen Zs would forgive him, and when he would forgive the Gen Zs, and when they would reconcile. That had not happened. So, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in Bondo is telling Oburu Odinga, my friend, you are not in the right space. Did you listen to the crowd? Did you hear what they were saying? Can you read the mood here? Don't force broad-based on these people. Let us support Kalonzo Musyoka. That is Uhuru's message.
That is what you
Na
read from
msifikirie,
this.
yes. Because in Jubilee, Matiang'i, of course, is a Mohoho Kenyatta candidate.
Okay. Now, before I go to Jubilee, what do you think this meeting between Oburu, Aida, and Uhuru, now the one after the burial, what will that have politically, the impact, even for the government?
It's very simple. Uhuru is telling them, I loved your brother, and I genuinely supported him. I came out openly, and I told Kenyans to vote for Raila Amolo Odinga. That's what he's telling the Oburu family. He's telling them he was my presidential candidate. And long after they did not win the elections, Uhuru continued to be in Azimio. In fact, he used to say his leader is Raila Amolo Odinga. So Uhuru is telling the family, mine was not pretense, it was genuine. Mine was not convenience, I meant it. I wanted Raila to be president, and I did everything I could have done to make him president. The fact that Wananchi did not at that point in time accept to follow Uhuru does not mean he was wrong. It just means that Wananchi did not see what Raila had seen. Watu wa Geshogo, hi, how are you? Do you know where Mother Karua would have been? Story for another day. So now the people of Geshogo are also asking themselves very hard questions. This would have been Mother Karua presidency.
Yeah.
Literally, Mother Karua would be president today.
Besides Martha, if Raila had clenched that seat for presidency, how different do you think Kenya would be today? For the two, is it two almost 3 years?
Very different. You see, Raila may be many things, but one thing Raila is not. He does not sit to plan evil. He does not sit to execute evil. He does not sit to meet evil upon his people. This is what I mean. I do not think, he may not even have done genius things. Hata maybe hangeleta hizo avoidable housing and all those projects. Maybe hata hangejenga barabara. But there's one thing I know Raila would not have done. Raila would not have sat down and tried to finish free primary education like this government is doing. He would not have sat down and come up with a plan to say that Treasury should announce that there is no money to give capitation to school. Raila Odinga would not have come up with this funny university funding model. Raila Odinga would not have come up with SHA, for example, because these are calculated evils to be meted upon citizens. You know, you sit, you calculate, you plan evil, you execute evil, and you use force to make sure that evil is meted upon your own citizens. That's what Kenya Kwanza has done.
But the president said that in his speech, actually, just quoting, that the manifesto, him and Raila had the same, and he believes what he's doing is
wapi 6,000 shillings? Hakuna manifesto ilikuwa inafanana hapo. There is no place where Raila Amolo Odinga has said in his manifesto, and I have the Azimio manifesto at home with me. There is no place where the Azimio manifesto said it's going to take away funding from university students in the name of a fun university funding model. That was never a promise in Azimio. Azimio had never promised that there would come a time when 130 children would die, infants, in Kiambu. Azimio never had anything in their manifesto of that kind. Azimio had nothing in their manifesto that said something to the effect that they would come up one day and come up with a social health authority that makes life impossible for Kenyans. They never came up with anything in their manifesto to say, by the way, as we speak right now, if you look at today's dailies, they are saying that they are going to review school fees for high schools and universities and colleges. Why do they want to do that? To cater for inflation. Who's going to pay that? Parents. Yani school fees inaenda kuongezwa January. So all I'm telling you is Raila Amolo Odinga, let us even imagine he wouldn't have built roads. Let us even imagine he wouldn't have built affordable housing. But there's one thing Raila would not have done. He would not have planned, executed, and meted evil upon his own people. Yeah.
When you look at the whole political space and how Raila had pushed for changes and the different things, all these years, somehow the Gen Z never got to know the many of the people who are speaking of the good stories and the good things, achievements that he did, have actually come up during this time. Of course, there were a few stories, but why do you think, especially maybe for the younger generation, especially Gen Z, at least millennials, we have an idea, never got to know who Raila was before his death, except for the fact that he supported Ruto's government?
The Gen Zs are not unaware of what Raila's contribution is. They are not unaware. I mean, we were aware of Matiba's contribution, and he contributed during the time of the generations before us. We were aware of what Akina Charles Rubia did. We were aware of what Timothy Njoya did. We were aware of those many people who came before Raila Amolo Odinga and what they did in that space, including Wangari Maathai, to help in the democratization of our spaces. So it's not that Gen Zs are not aware. It's just that they felt that this one, where they had put their lives on the line, they felt that he had betrayed them. They felt that he shouldn't have joined William Ruto. They felt that William Ruto should have been left to carry his own cross. And by the way, at the time he was joining, the demonstrations had subsided. The young people were not on the streets when he joined. Remember, this happened on June 25th. He joined government around July, in the month of July 25th or July 30th, thereabout. So it's not like Gen Zs were on the streets anymore. It was just a convenient time to join government. Gen Zs were not on the streets anymore. They had left. And then in March of 2025, that is many, many more years, that's when they come and sign the 10-point agenda. And they declare that they are formally working together. So how does joining government in March of 2025 relate with protests in June the previous year? It was just convenience. Let's be honest. I have always supported Baba, but on joining William Ruto, I will not support him.
But why do you think he did? What do you think? Because they say when an old man is sitting, sees things. No, let me finish. They say an old man sitting sees things that a young man standing would never see. What do you think Raila saw that we never saw? Because I don't think he just saw. I don't think Raila was in it for the money.
They saw money. Let's be honest.
You think he just woke up and just needed the money?
His people were greedy. They wanted to be in government. They were pushing him to join government. That's it. Tell us, what is this genius idea that Mbadi has brought to government that was never there? What is this that Mbadi has done? I saw him during the burial saying, the first Luo to be financed. So unataka kuniambia sahi Wajaluo wanaweka pesa hivi mkono hivi kwa mfuko wanatoa pesa because there is a minister for finance coming from their region. I mean, come on. These people were pushing Baba into a marriage with Ruto for their own benefit. In fact, Baba barely ever benefited from this government.
Do you think maybe at his age, maybe, I don't know, now we just speculate. Do you think he had seen that nobody in his camp was worth pushing the agenda he has, and so he just decided it's fine?
Not really. Baba joined this because everybody around him was telling him to join. And the beneficiaries of this merger with UDA were not, Baba was not one of them. It was just his people around him. Tell me something that has happened in the field of energy that we can say this is attributable to Baba. Look at all the ministries. Hata hii ya Oparanya. Tell us something. Nyota program. Nyota nonsense. They are saying they are going to borrow IMF, I think, is it World Bank or IMF, 5 billion to come and put into Nyota and give 100,000 young people 50K each. 100,000 people, 50,000 each is 5 billion. Why would a state house that has allocated itself 12 billion, which can empower 240,000 young people at the rate of 50,000 shillings, find it necessary to go and borrow 5 billion? If you have 12 billion for a useless outfit called State House, how comes you don't have 5 billion to help a whole 100,000 young people? So what is this Oparanya that is going to do that is so special and different? In fact, when you borrow from IMF and World Bank, it is not those young people who are going to pay. It is you and me. Tutalipa pesa yenye ilitumiwa kubribe young people so that they can vote for this government because it's a bribe. So there's nothing. Nyota is a way of bribing. And I can tell you young people sahi wameanza kufuata MCA, wameanza kufuata MP, wameanza kufuata governor, wameanza kufuata senator, wanajipendekeza juu wamesikia kuna 50,000 italipwa na wanajua ikiwa ya serikali huwa hairudi, it never goes back. They know. And who is selecting the people to be given? These elected people within UDA and those who are close to government. And what do? Think about it. There are 50,000 polling stations in Kenya, right? So you need 2 people per polling station. That's 100,000. So they're looking for a way to bribe 100,000 polling agents with our money. Usidanganywe. I've done the maths.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. Just to know you have your people who can be there in polling stations for you. What else?
But even everyone pays for their agents either way.
How did they arrive at 50,000? I mean, at 100,000 young people. Kenya has got so many. Hii mwaka, wale watu wanaenda kufanya exam ni 976,000. So you have a population that gives you 1 million young people every year out of high school, plus those who didn't even finish high school. And then you're planning for 100,000 with World Bank money or IMF money. Come on.
Okay. let's not go to that for now for this show. The other thing I would want to know, I mean, it's beautiful to see that Raila is being honored after his death with the CGH, which is the highest honor that I don't think it's even given to civilians, and it's reserved for presidents and people who've had very impactful lives. Why do you think we never did this when he was alive? He was there last year. He was there for the last
Hypocrisy.
80 years.
Do I need to go to Kenyans and open the library for them and show them videos of Ruto calling Raila Muganga? Mchawi. Those are the words he used to call Raila. He used to say, yule mzee, nitapeleka yeye. In fact, even after he became president, he's on record saying, nitapeleka yeye Bondo haraka sana, hata jua vile atafika huko. He's on record as having said that. When maandamanos began, he was calling Raila a criminal. He was telling him he's destabilizing government. He was called. So how did Raila move from a criminal to an elder of the golden heart of Kenya? How? Come on, Ruto, you need to decide. You need to decide whether Raila Amolo Odinga is the elder of the golden heart of Kenya or he is Mganga, as you used to call him, and Mchawi, and the person who should go to Bondo very quickly for leading maandamano, which you believed was bad.
My question actually would be around the people that we award this, we give these awards to. It may not be that because that's higher. That's probably now they're like, I know it's been with the previous presidents and now Raila. Locally, that is Kenyans if you look at it. But even for the lower ones, the people we give, are we even serious how we select them?
I saw the list and I'm glad some of those people are not conferred with some of those honors. Remember there was one time, and this is not just fighting Ruto. Remember there was a time when Githeri man was given one of those honors. Just for carrying Githeri in a paper bag and being on a queue, he was given a state commendation. And I felt like those people who forward the names to the president are jokers. State commendations are supposed to be state commendations, and they are supposed to be given to people who are worthy of those state commendations. I don't doubt that Raila Amolo Odinga was worthy of that state commendation, but it should have been given to him during his lifetime. I mean, give me my flowers when I'm alive. Don't give me my flowers posthumously and tell me you are celebrating me posthumously. Yeah, you can't on one side call me mchawi, muganga, tell me you're going to take me to Bondo, and then when I die, mnaanza kusema sifa mzuri ni ya maiti, and then you want to give me your state honors during that time. I feel for me, he's trying everything he can to win the Luo block of votes. And sometimes, I wish I can speak to William Ruto and tell him, look here, nyinyi wenyewe mumefanyishwa hesabu na IBC. Mumeambiwa, IBC right now is targeting 6 million Gen Zs to register as voters. Let me inform you that by end of November, another 1 million are coming out. Wanamaliza form 4.
Yeah.
And November 2026, another 1 million are coming out. If I was vying for the presidential seat today in this country, I wouldn't worry about the Kikuyu vote, the Luo vote, the Luya vote. There is a block of 8 million young people who don't want nonsense. And I can assure you they'll pick up votes. They've been late, but they'll pick up their votes. This, sasa mtu anakuja kusema watu wa hii region waliachwa kwa broad based watabaki. That region has 1.5 million votes. At most 2 million. Start endearing yourself to the young people who have got at least a 6 million new voters who are coming in and another possible 2 million before 2026 is over. 1 million this year wenye wanamaliza form 4 and that's on the lower side because kuna wengi wenye hawakujoin high school, of course, because of these stupid capitation models to school. So many children have dropped out. So when I hear people talk of planning for elections, I worry deeply for anybody who's not thinking about Gen Zs. And then there are the people who are young. There are people wenye wataweza kufanya kimbi huko. Au ndio wataweza kufanya a lot of things in a polling station within a very short time before than any other person can be able to. Bring them close and hold them dear.
Okay, and actually just enable them to register, make the process as swift as possible for young people.
Yeah, I was saying that registration process, you can't bring Vasco da Gama ideas into 2025. Young people who, they vote on they do everything on their phone. They buy food on their phone. They register for American visas on their phone. They take a whole loan on their phone. They do so much on their phone. And then you're telling them to register the way they used to register during the times of Kivuitu. Mpaka anapewa kakadi anashindwa sasa hii ni ya nini napeleka wapi. IBC up your game.
Yes, that one they must. They do not even have a choice on it. But now, coming back to the speeches that were made by different leaders during the funeral, I'll start with Orengo's speech and key point where he spoke about letting political parties be and not kill them. Because what we have seen with the current government is killing the political parties and bringing everyone on board. I mean, we saw Musalia Mudavadi defaulted his party to join UDA. Why do you think it was critical for Orengo to send this message, yet other leaders are not speaking the same?
Nobody takes Orengo seriously anymore.
You think so?
We used to take Orengo seriously when he used to hold a position. Today he's ambivalent. He's a mix of good and bad, hot and sweet, sweet and sour. He says this, he says this. His speech was hitting at everybody. He was even fighting the president, saying, you post this constitution, and now you're the beneficiary of this constitution. He was fighting Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and he's saying the election was stolen, and Uhuru is right there. Then he's praising Maraga. Then at the same time, he's fighting the judiciary. Orengo is confused.
No, but if he's speaking facts, it has nothing to...
You see, you need
do you
as
have
a
to
leader...
Speak, when you speak the truth as is, does it mean you're
as
beating
a leader,
people?
You need to lead people somewhere. At the end of the day, you need to lead people somewhere. So when you say we don't want ODM to be fought by politicians, it's going to be fought. I think the question that what Orengo should have done for us to see the leader in him is to tell people, look here, after this is over, we in ODM are going to sit down. We are going to put our house together. We are going to stand together. We are going to make sure that ODM does not disintegrate. And we shall fight all our enemies from one direction. Now that shows leadership. But when you complain about the sun, complain about the moon, complain about the heat, complain about the cold, complain about the snow, you complain about everything, you even complain about the fact that you wore the wrong shoes to the weather, then what do we do for you? So he gave us a barrage of complaints that were useless.
But why do you think he was key on political parties' independence?
You see, it's good to be key on political parties' independence. But you see, ODM does not need enemies. ODM has got its own enemies from inside. Let me tell you something. You know, some time back, I talked to a friend of mine who told me that he was in Japan for some time. And for 10 years, he noticed that no Japanese wanted to invite him to his house. And so one day he sat with a Japanese and asked him, why are you people so not interested? And he told him, sit down, I'll tell you. He told him, we don't trust you Kenyans. He asked him, why? He told him, are you aware that when the British came to your country, initially there were about 2,000 or less than 5,000? And he asked him why. He told him, and you people had a population of not less than 4 million people. Yes. And 5,000 people colonized you. Yes. Do you know why? No. Because they had more of you Africans in the British army fighting against you Africans than they themselves. Mzungu wako watatu wanakupatia bunduki, wanaambia go and kill your people. Instead of killing the 2-3 mzungus who are here, you go and kill your own people. So he told them in Japan, in Hong Kong, in Malaysia, some of these places, especially Hong Kong, where the British went and they were looking, nobody would have joined the British army and fight against their own citizens. In fact, when they were forced, they hung themselves. And the British had that problem. Some of the countries they went to, people told them, I cannot join you to fight my own people. Orengo needs to realize that ODM will be wrecked from inside. It will be wrecked by its own people. Some of those people I don't want to mention here are just there for their stomachs. Wataitwa na William Ruto wapatiwe pesa kidogo. They are going to wreck ODM from inside.
So the fight is going to
be... The fight is... The ODM does not need enemies.
But
it has got very greedy people who sit inside ODM who only see their stomach, and after they are dancing their stomach, they see their own stomach. Those are the people who are going to destroy ODM. Watapewa pesa kidogo hivi tu na Ruto. They will destroy ODM from inside. In fact, I don't like advising William Ruto. But let me give him one for today. The government owes ODM 12.6 billion. That's what they say.
That's for political parties.
For political parties. You don't need to destroy ODM. Just give them their 12 billion. That's all. And then sit and watch.
The fight.
Just sit and watch. So Orengo is thinking that an enemy will come and attack ODM. No. In fact, if I was president, ninaweza sema, we owe you 12.6, mumepewa 5 kwanza, government is struggling. Uone ile vita itatoka Orange House. So you don't need to kill ODM. It has got enough enemies within.
Are these the enemies? Because we all watched the speeches, and of course we could tell this one is on this side, this is on this side. We are in broad-based, we are not. We are an independent party. What do you think is next for ODM to be very sincere?
The most important person is the voter. And Edwin Sifuna has mastered the art of speaking to the voter. Everybody there was in a suit and tie. Sifuna came in a t-shirt. And he's the SG of ODM. It doesn't make him any less of an SG.
And he was beaten for it online by people.
Let them beat him. What does a suit do? Does it bury? Does it carry the casket? Sifuna is youngish and is appealing to young people. And we are telling people, do you know before ungewe ingia TV station na shati kama, you had to be in a tie. Jeans was seen like an outfit from the devil himself.
Yeah.
Today we wear jeans to every other place. I think let us worry more deeply about what is inside here. Sifuna connected with those people. And every time Sifuna's name was mentioned, you could tell. And when he was given a chance to speak, he connected with the crowd. Mtu mwingine anakuja hapo kama Mbadi. Unashout juu ya broad-based, unashout juu ya broad-based. Unashout. Unaambua Mbadi, don't increase your volume. Alikuwa mpaka anatoa hizi veins. Anaambua just increase the content of your speech. Deepen it. Make it palatable. But every time he was speaking, he kept increasing his volume because he thought it's the volume that is going to work. People have heard you. You're talking of broad-based, and they don't want. So do you think shouting will take them to broad-based? Sifuna comes and says, we shall follow Baba's last instructions. And the crowd goes wild. They were telling you and William Ruto that we are not in broad-based. Baba left us there, but we were never happy there. Baba left us there, but we don't want to be there. And Baba gave us hope when he said that ODM is going to have a candidate. And so Sifuna is speaking to that hope. He's speaking to that hope of, ODM is going to have a candidate. And by the way, that candidate might be William Ruto.
Yeah, because that's the twist that's being said.
Yeah,
because
even
he said ODM cannot die as I watch.
No, he even came and said, ODM, nanyi mseme tuko tayari. What do you think he was saying? His UDA is dead. UDA ni wapi inaweza pata kura isipokuwa Kalenjin land? Who would queue and vote for UDA? A wheelbarrow. Again now, who would? Nobody.
So he's going to do a takeover of ODM maybe?
ODM starts from a point of having at least 80 elected members of parliament. Who doesn't want to have such a head start? So if he knows if he keeps ODM as it is, if they can maintain the 80, alafu wapate another 20 from the Kalenjin regions, he has at least 100 members of parliament to start with.
But that is assuming that where you're starting, the people believe, there are people who followed ODM because they believed in what Raila stood for. But then if whoever comes, they don't believe in their ideals, then what makes you believe that you will have the 80? Or even...
Exactly. That's why one term is unstoppable. One time ilikuwa inaenda na speed ya 100 kilometers per hour. Sasa naona imefika 150. Immediately baba died, speed iliongezeka ya one time. Our friend Museveni, who is said to have contributed immensely to the win of Kenya Kwanza, is now going through his own struggles at home, politically and even health-wise and so on and so forth. There is every indication that in 2027, Museveni's help might not be available to us, for whatever reasons that will be. So now you can imagine, kuna hii wave ya Gachagua ya one term, kuna hii kuchoka ya Wakenya, kuna hizi shida tumepitishiwa na William Ruto. And then in addition to that, Baba is not there and Museveni may not be there to help because he's got his own challenges at home.
But what do you think is the I don't know, the future, quote unquote, of people like Sifuna, people like Babu Owino in the party?
Bright.
In the party?
Yes. You know, there are some times when an ejection out of an outfit gives you more mileage than staying in.
Are you saying that
Rigathi Gachagua is more popular now than he ever was when he was deputy president? Rigathi Gachagua, his pronouncements, can you imagine even during this burial, his silence alone was being talked about than than Mudavadi. Do you know Rigathi Gachagua's name was mentioned more than Mudavadi, who is the prime CS, by everybody, everywhere? So ejecting Sifuna, if they want to, and Babu Owino from ODM will make them a lot more important than they ever were, even when they were in ODM. You cannot put a good man down. You take a seed, you bury it, and it's raining. It germinates. These are seeds. They just germinate. Sifuna can come through DCP and he would still win Nairobi. He can come as independent. He can come as independent. He'll still win Nairobi. People like Sifuna. Babu Owino is popular. And you will not take that away from him. In fact, those people who are fighting him are envious because some of them are 4-term MPs. Na bado hawajulikani. Isipokuwa hiyo village politics yao, and they were relying on Baba to get the ODM ticket to be re-elected. Sasa hakuna Baba, their own popularity has to save them and they are worried. Ulikuwa unafikiri wanalia matanga juu ya Baba, si wanalia because of their own careers.
I mean, Junet spoke of political orphans. What happens to them?
And actually,
he said they are many, and he wants to be their chair. Yeah.
Yes, he wants to be the chairman of political orphans. What happens to them? Who cares about them? We don't. Politics, unfortunately, is ruthless. They reinvent themselves or they die. There is someone who's been waiting for such an opportunity. Na sahi I'm sure kuna mtu ameanza kuactivate network zake ground. Kuna mtu ameanza kuamini he can win a seat in Luo Nyanza on independent ticket or DCP or whatever other party. So you are there. You want us to pity you? No. You shape up or you ship out.
Of course, nature abhors vacuum, yeah, either way.
Hii shida sasa si yetu. Hii shida ni yenyu nyinyi wenyewe.
Now that we have by-elections next month, how do you think ODM will go through that phase?
There are two theories to it. The first one is Baba amekufa. And this was his party. If we do not vote for his candidate, it will look... Unajua kuna ile kura ya woishe. Like, let us just give ODM ili watu waone bado tunapenda Baba. Na ni kama we are mourning and we are just showing our gratitude to Baba by giving. That's one theory. It could happen that way. But the second one, which is very probable, is when you see, for example, Kasipul Kabondo, Were was not the most popular candidate. And if you want to know, there was a violent by-election. I mean, nomination process. We saw vehicles broken into. It was violent. That tells you there are people who disagreed with Baba. They had the courage to face Baba and say, no, this is not it. Now, you can imagine Baba is not there. And those people who had the courage to tell them ODM no, now are even more emboldened to tell them, mulikuwa mnasema Baba amesema. Also, there are MCAs who are existing now and others who have a political ambition, who were so nice to ODM, they were saying, vile tu Baba atasema, mi nitafanya, because nataka kupata ticket 2027. So now if you are that MCA, And you did it purely because you wanted the ODM ticket for 2027. And an MCA is a very important person because they live on the ground. They're very close to the people. So if you have a constituency with 5 wards and you get the 5 MCAs and they campaign for you effectively, your chances of winning are very high. So if those MCAs today decide, you know what, it's no longer an ODM affair. Now we are not afraid. Hakuna baba, kaende. Chances of them losing those seats are very high. So that's where we are.
That's where we are. Okay. You touched on this. Why do you think former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua chose not to attend any of those events?
I'll give 2 reasons. The first one is the best place for Rigathi Gachagua to have gone to eulogize Baba would have been Parliament. That would have been the best place for him. Unfortunately, the 17th of October happens to be exactly 1 year since he was impeached. In fact, 17th of October is the day they impeached him when he was at Karen Hospital. So he would have gone to those corridors and all those memories would have been on his head. And then he would have seen, remember, more than 2/3 were involved in his impeachment. So 2 out of every 3 people he would have seen impeached him. How do you think he would have felt? He's human. Number 2, Raila Odinga marshaled his troops to impeach him. So in as much as Rigiji would want to be nice, I mean, let's be human. Raila Odinga is more than 80 votes in parliament. That's what he is. So Raila stabbed Rigiji 80 times in the impeachment, if you are to look at it that way. An MP stabbed Rigiji once, but Raila had 80 stabs. He had 80 votes. I don't think it's that easy to forgive. And I'm not saying he hasn't forgiven, but that is the reality, and we have to deal with it.
So there are many lessons we didn't take from Raila Odinga, especially political.
No, we are coming there. Now, so I told you the first one is about the 8th, the 17th, and what that would have meant to Rigiji.
Yeah.
The second one is about the impact of ODM in his impeachment. It was one huge blow that carried a lot of weight in his impeachment. But the third one, and most importantly, there's something we call political banter. Now, when the people from the ODM or Baba Secretariat wrote a very bad letter saying something to the effect that Rigiji and his people are the ones who are spreading rumors about Baba's ill health, Rigiji, in his usual political nature, came and threw what we can call political banter. He said, munasema sisi ndio tumeletea mzee matatizo. Kwani sisi ni bacteria, sisi ni virus. But he ended it very well, for those who remember. He said, sisi tunatakia mzee mambo mazuri. Tunamtakia apone, tukutane naye kwa debe, tumfukuze pamoja na Kasongo 2027. Many people did not hear the last part, but it is there, and it's not edited, it exists. Even those people who posted on TikTok, they posted up to where he said, wanaombea ifike 2027. Now, to the kawaida, mwananchi watasema Rigiji alitukana Baba kwa ile ugonjwa ilileta kifo yake. But to the politician, they know that is political banter. Si wanarushiananga maneno cheche, na kutupa, alafu tunakutana bunge. Kwambia jana nilikugonga, uliona hiyo? Na unaniambia utaona ile nitakugonga. So they have those comebacks. It's just that sometimes you can throw one at someone and then before they can reply, they die. And it would have not been wise for him, in terms of his safety, to appear at Nyayo Stadium, for example, because that would have been the next place. It would not have been wise for him now, worst of all, to appear in Kisumu or how, because the wananchi, and I tell you many times, when we are fighting as politicians, sometimes we leave the fight and share the same car and talk about other things. I sit on studio with people who we are completely and totally not on the same page. But then either namuomba lift if I didn't have a car, or mananiomba lift if they didn't have a car. But our supporters would kill each other.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would have been safe for Rigiji to have been at Nyayo Stadium. It would not have been safe for him to have even gone to Bondo. However, the way I know Rigiji, I know there will be a chance for him to visit Mama Ida Odinga at her home in Karen or even in Bondo. Politics is about that. Na pia matanga watu waelewe. Are you aware that the real matanga starts when everybody goes?
Yeah.
Mkimaliza, and that's why Uhuru is now being applauded for what he did. In fact, I think now, if Uhuru went to a public podium, the cheers would even be louder because he's discovered that once everybody is gone, that's when it hits the family. Our kin is normal. So standing with that family shall happen for Rigiji. That I know because I'm privy to that information. But it will happen after some time when the whole dust is about to settle. Just arrive, reach Mama Ida Odinga, either in Bondo or even here, and it will just be a news item. Because Rigiji never really hated Raila. Let's start there.
I don't think politicians hate each
Politicians
other
don't hate each
generally.
other, and Kenyans need to know that Rigiji and Raila, if they met, they would share a meal without each thinking of poisoning the other or having to harm the other one. They would share a meal. I mean, Moses Kuria used to insult Raila the most, but one day, remember, alimwambia wakule samaki pale Kosewe. So I can tell you for free, Rigiji and Raila Odinga Raila did not die as an enemy of Rigiji. They died as people who were throwing political banter at each other.
Do you think, of course, Raila had many lessons that we can take, but do you think the leaders we have currently, the crop we have, understand what it meant for Raila to choose country over self so many times? And do we have people who can do that?
It is hard. As a politician, you'll be misunderstood very many times. And even Uhuru was misunderstood.
Yeah.
Coming up to the 2022 general elections, it was a misunderstood. It is the nature of politics. People will misunderstand you. But I think what makes a successful politician is the ability to be steadfast and persistent in what you believe in. People later come and see. I mean, Wangare Maathai, when she started fighting for forest, they thought she was a mad woman. Alitoa nguo wakafikiria ni mwenda azimu, but the way she continued until she became a Nobel Peace Laureate, and people are like, wait a minute. The world has recognized our own Wangare Maathai. So misunderstandings will be there. I have been misunderstood politically. And by the way, if you've not been misunderstood politically, then you're a useless politician. You are a useless politician. People must misunderstand you somehow.
To understand you.
Yes, yes, but you have to stand for. I mean, Babu Owino has been controversial. He's had equal enemies and equal friends. Yeah, sasa ukiuliza watu wangapi wanachukia Babu Owino, uandike list, you'd think kwani anachukiwa aje. Then wangapi wanampenda, uandike list like kwani anapendwa aje. Sifuna the same. Don't you dare think that everybody celebrates Sifuna. Sifuna is one guy who is loved and hated in equal measure. So was Uhuru. So is Kalonzo. But if you are this politician who is loved by everybody, go and sell ice cream. Ice cream is the only thing that can make people very happy all the time.
Okay. Why do you think the states or the government, state is different, let's say the government ignored opposition leaders until the last day where they allowed Kalonzo? Looking into it from the lens that Raila has always been an opposition leader and he stood for what he believed even in opposition.
Kalonzo Musyoka first, there was a big mistake in not letting him speak at Nyayo National Stadium, because at Nyayo National Stadium, he had not come as an opposition leader. He had come as a former vice president. Raila Odinga was a former prime minister.
Yeah.
So Kalonzo Musyoka had come in as a former vice president who served at the same time. You remember when Kalonzo was vice president, Raila Odinga was prime minister.
Yeah.
So they were serving together in the same Kibaki administration. One as VP, one as PM. I don't know who is more senior during that arrangement, but that's where they were. But secondly, Kalonzo Musyoka comes in as one person who had supported Raila Odinga for 3 terms. Wanaanguka, anamsupport, wanaanguka, anamsupport. So he should have been given a chance to speak at Nyayo Stadium. But coming to the burial also, William Ruto had a script, and the script was to bring as many people who will speak of broad-based as possible, as opposed to having people who will come and speak of, people being given a chance to choose what they want. And so it was deliberate to reduce. In fact, the only person who carried the day, yet he's carried the message that was not a broad-based message, was Sifuna. Every other person had been created and choreographed, and they all spoke of broad-based. That's what they did. So the government wanted to send a stupid broad-based message, but it did not sit well with Kenyans.
What impact will that have on opposition from where you look at it?
Nothing.
Zero.
I mean, you come and tell people something they don't want to hear. They cheer you, they jeer at you, and then they celebrate the person who tells them what they want to hear. It just tells you. It has emboldened the opposition. The opposition now is like, now we know how it feels like. In fact, my advice to Kalonzo Musyoka would be, the people of Nyanza love you, go back. Weka magari speaker tembea Kisumu pale Kondele, and just come and say, nimekuja kama Kalonzo Musyoka, na nimekuja kuambia nilisimama na nyinyi mara 3, naomba mrudishe mkono. They will receive him very well. Fact, ningekuwa Kalonzo, ningekuwa nangoja tu dust 7 days za morning ziishe, agurumishe gari, aeke speaker, akimbie huko Kondele, aanze na huko, azunguke the whole of Luo Nyanza, aende Migori, aambie watu mimi nimekuja kusalimia wananchi, na kuambia kwamba I'm in the race in 2027, na kuambia kwamba baba was my friend, I loved him and I supported him, and you know, nyinyi na nyinyi rudisheni mkono. They would be happy because they like to see a leader who leads from the front.
Do you think that's why he also chose not to go for Mashujaa? It was in his county, Kitui.
Mashujaa Day for Kalonzo Musyoka is good he did not attend it at Kitui. There was a lot of UDA propaganda going on. I mean, who wants to sit in a stadium and listen to lies for free? You know, you go and allocate the president there and you listen to a lot of lies and a lot of misinformation and promises that you know will not be fulfilled. So, I mean, you spare your ear. Sometimes you choose what you want to hear on a holiday. And
but
he
politically,
chose to stay
it would
away.
have an impact.
What impact will it have for him to go to Kitui? He's always going to Kitui whenever he wants. And the people of Kitui know him.
Okay.
And they always choose him over so many other people. So he has no business wasting his time there. Let Ruto run his show. Let him give his stories there. Once he's done, he goes. Kalonzo will come back after a week or 2 and say, bado ni Wiper, Wiper Patriotic Front, yes, bas.
That's what you think?
Yes, and actually, I think about it because of the inconsistencies. For example, why would a president speak during his speech and say that there are 40,000? I listened to him, and you know, sometimes conveniently stima inapoteanga just when he's about to speak. But jana, I was given grace, I listened. He said that there are 40,000 young people who are cleaning Nairobi River. He said that. One watch his speech. Nairobi River is 390 kilometers. So when you take 40,000, divide by 390 kilometers, you will get how many people are there per kilometer cleaning, and then you'll tell me whether it makes sense. He spoke about Kenya spending 500 billion every year on importing food items. Then he comes and does something stupid called Nyota. If I was head of state, I would be saying, how do we create employment that leads to us not spending 500? Because you pesa munafanyia kazi, then you spend it outside the country.
But didn't he talk about building dams?
Our problem is not dams. Because when we had the opportunity to build Aurora and Kimorel, we never built them. And we are still surviving. Have you ever noticed that you can resolve the water crisis from a policy perspective? The house we are sitting inside right now, the amount of rainfall it gets in 3 months is enough to support it with all its water needs for a year. If we were to change the building code and say that every house must have a storage capacity of this amount of water, you can use all the rainwater for washing your cars, washing your utensils, washing the house, you know, because washing takes the bulk of our water needs.
But that wouldn't meet agriculture, because the dams are essentially for agriculture, not for household use.
I told you, the amount of water we waste as a country is a lot. And when you want to think about it, even the amount of water that comes on your roof, if it was to be trapped, there's a lot of water that can be used for household irrigation. Many houses, when you speak of buying, you know, people think that we are importing food worth 500 billion, so everybody imports. No. Just go to Namanga border. There's so many trucks bringing in kitungu. That's importation of kitungu.
Yeah.
So if this small amount of water is able to help each house have its own small kitchen garden, hata kama ni ya magunia, the amount of money we spend importing kitungu and nyanya and sukuma wiki would... Yeah, so I like the fact that Kalonzo did not attend that Kitui thing. Walienda wakafanya vitu zao and boom, they're done.
Okay. Raila had both fans and haters, and we had politically Raila phobia, Raila mania. How is this going to shift the country moving forward?
First, you need to understand that there used to be places in Mount Kenya where for you to be elected, you just needed to insult Raila too much. Oh, Raila, mukichagua Raila, mumeisha. Sell Raila fear. And people would vote for you. Luckily, after 2022, when Raila was put on the ballot, a few things changed. Actually, he got close to 1 million votes within the central Kenya region. But secondly, and most importantly, after that 2022, people found someone that they hated more than Raila Amolo Odinga. If they had hated Raila, now those who hated Raila. And today, you just need to go to Mount Kenya and say, mimi ni wa one term, siko pande ya Ruto. Ruto has immediately been used now. In fact, the elections within very many parts of this country, any home that lost a Gen Z, any home that is unhappy with this administration, will just need to say, it's either you're with us or you're with William Ruto. So now it's going to be Rutophobia.
So it's a transfer.
Immediately. For you to sell Jesus, you also have to sell the devil.
Yeah.
You have to come say, kuna shetani. Kuja unasema Yesu ni mzuri. Na ukimfuata utaenda heaven. Ukikataa kuna shetani na kuna moto. Na shetani anakuanga na pembe. Na anafanyanga ndoa zinavunjika, anafanya. So you have to talk also about the devil. So there will never be a campaign that doesn't have the angel and the devil. So those selling Ruto will be saying that, akina Gachagua, akina Kalonzo, na wale wengine wako opposition ni wabaya. That to them will be the devil. And they'll be presenting themselves as angels. The reverse of that will happen also. And so I can tell you, even in the US, Obama would tell us why not McCain and why him. So even here, Raila phobia is not gone. It's now Rutophobia. Mtu akijaribu kukataa kukuvotia unamwambia sha inarudi. University funding model itabaki hii. Ukimwambia hizo wacha nikuvotie wewe. And then also, that the way they cascade it, they usually say, ukiua nyoka unaua mayai yake. So they come and say, sasa, hapa mwenye ameshikilia Ruto nani? Ni mbunge na MCA. Mkitoa Ruto mkose kutoa mbunge na MCA, you've not done an election. So what will happen? So now it's Rutophobia.
Okay. In your thinking, overall, how is the death and exit of Raila from the political space going to change politics? The good, the bad, the ugly, for his exit and Kenyan politics.
His exit will be good in many ways. Number one, within those places where you just needed an ODM ticket, and ODM was Baba, to win, now you'll start seeing the emergence of independence candidate winning. You'll start seeing people who do not necessarily believe in ODM becoming victors. The bad thing is it changes Luo Nyanza now into a Western kind of place where everybody goes now to fish for votes. Before, hata huko una waste time ukienda huko. Either utafute baba mfanye kazi na ama, but now it's an open gate. The ugly about Baba not being in Kenyan politics is there's the lack of that galvanization of the psyche of a region to come and think as one, work as one, and do things as one. And that was a great bargaining. Ni maana unakuta, ukienda Kisumu has been out of government for very many years. But they've worked with government, and Kisumu is a very modern city. If hata barabara za kuingia huko, the airport, everything. Raila always achieves for these people even when he was not voted for. So now when the votes are too scattered, when people start thinking, wanavotingi manusu, even development may not follow them. Yes, because
even with our constitution
unfortunately,
and
our
devolution.
politicians have pegged a lot of development projects to politics. You can come and speak about the constitution, but what they do is that kuna barabara za Kenha, za Kura, the big roads. Those ones, now they are politically done. Hata bunge, to get the vote head for it is politically done. So if you're perceived as non-supporters, chances of you not getting it are very high.
But that's why we need to get ourselves better leaders who understand what leadership is, because I don't have to support you for you to make a road.
Oh yes.
Anyway, that's up to us as Kenyans as we go to an election in 2027 to make better decisions. Maybe your closing remarks to the viewers.
My closing remarks to the viewers is let us always celebrate Mashujaa Day and a few other days. I saw in my constituency, Dagoretti South, there was one organized at PC Kenyanjui. And what they did is because they can't get people, kuna watu wanaitwa Green Army. Siku hizi Green Army has become the center of mobilization. Mnaambiwa kesho mko job. So you just come and sit at the stadium and listen to propaganda. If you're a young person out there and you're being called to join the Green Army and you're being told on a particular Mashujaa Day or Madaraka Day or something, just go and sit. There's an allowance being paid for you to sit there and then just listen to their nonsense. But remember, watu wapende wasipende, tunajua ni one term. Na wengine wabunge wenye wako kwa UDA, this is their last term. Yeah.
Even if it was just their first one.
Hata kama ilikuwa ya kwanza, this is their last term.
Okay. Leave it up to you Kenyans. If your MP, MCA, governor did the right job, good for them to be there again in 2027. If not, it's your chance. And this is a reminder that IEBC is still doing the registration. You can go register yourself as a voter, because if you need to see a better Kenya, that's the only way you will change country. So thank you for watching. Register as a voter and we'll catch you on the next episode.